Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of I Got Gameplay. Yes, I'm Michael Burhan here, and with a flurry of hosts today, of course. We have Mr. Chris Locs here. He's going to be back in a bit. He just left his TV on extremely loud, so I had to sort of like kick him out of the call. But that's okay, Chris. If you can hear us, just jump back in. Now, today we have with us also Mr. 90s Kid, Mr. This Job for Hire himself, and also he's working on a game script as well, Mr. Miguel Leon. Miguel.
Yeah,
who are you scaring tonight?
Who am I scaring tonight?
Yeah.
No one. I'm alone tonight, as I spend every Saturday night.
Whoa. Saturday night at the movies.
Oh, I don't have enough money. I have not nearly enough money to go see movies nowadays. I'll just wait until they pop up in the red box, or I'll just wait 3 more months and they'll be on DVD.
So what are you doing today, Miguel? How's things been?
I literally, like about 2 hours ago, just finished up the script for the next episode of This Job for Hire, and in waiting for the show to pop up, I've been researching our topic and listening to a bunch of podcasts from Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't know if you guys know who that is. He's a astrophysicist, and it's just some amazing stuff I've been listening to.
Is it more for motivational purposes, or are you listening because you like astrophysicism?
Actually, he was doing an interview with the Opie and Anthony show, and I'm big fans of theirs, so I kind of was listening to him, and they were kind of just talking about current events and science and things like that. It was really cool.
Ooh, and we have one member of our team today, of course, because Kyla can't be with us. We have Zack Latour. Hello, Zack.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, good, my friend. We're having it's one of those days. I've had a fun day today with the kiddies, half of it, and then the rest of the day spent yelling at them to go to sleep. It's like, sleep!
I hear you.
No, you can't stay up till 1 o'clock. No, you can't drink beer. Parenthood. And also, we have, from the Excess Gaming podcast, he also has his own YouTube channel as well, Mr. Xander Skullion. Xander, how are you doing today?
Listen to them, the gamers of the night. What sweet games they are playing. What's up, everyone?
Good reference. I like that.
I thought that was a Jamaican man saying that.
Yeah, man.
I'd make a reference to one of my favorite horror films, but I can't think of any references from The Frighteners that'll work into this.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's a great movie. It gets better every time I see it. I still haven't seen the director's cut, though. I can't find a Blu-ray of it out in the stores, but once I do, I really want to get a chance to see that.
Well, for anybody who listens to this show, I'm going to give you a nice little hey listen. Check out the Michael J. Fox show. It's a great show. It kind of makes fun about his issues with Parkinson's, of course, and the fact that they use it towards their own advantages in terms of his family and friends. But it's a fun show as well at the same time. So check that out, guys. It's apparently sagging the ratings in the US at the moment. I don't know why. It's a great show. But as we go on from that, let's segue on, of course, while we're waiting for Chris to actually come back, for the news, if I can actually find the news, because this board's got like a million different things in here. And do I have it? I need to give myself one of these, I think. Facepalm. So, Miguel, what's in the news this week?
I've got 2 bits of news, one pretty big one and one that'll segue right into our topic, actually. One of the first big bits of news that everybody's talking about is some of the restrictions that have been announced for the PlayStation 4. Just a couple things that people are upset about that aren't going to be available with the console. One of the biggest ones that actually throws out to me is the fact that it lacks the ability to play audio CDs. You won't be able to actually just put a CD in and be able to play it. It won't be able to play MP3s that you can download onto it, and it lacks DLNA support, which I had to actually look it up. It's actually the Digital Living Network Alliance, I believe that's the ability for it to be able to be used as a server, because I believe the PS3 can act as your own little private media server if you have stuff downloaded onto it.
Yes,
and all of these different restrictions tell me that Sony apparently really wants to push their online music service. That I forget what it's called, but I know it's like their online service where if you're a member, you can like queue up any song you want. And that plus the PlayStation Network's ability to play movies, and it sounds like they're pulling an Apple kind of in a way, and they're limiting your ability to play music that isn't theirs. You know, they really want to be able to make their services the one-stop shop for media, and I think that upsets a lot of people, especially somebody who, like me, has a ton of music and a couple movies downloaded, but I don't want to have to rebuy that stuff or pay a service just to be able to play it. So.
They'll find ways around it. There always will be a workaround around it. I know there's a couple of gentlemen who I know that I'm related to who basically tinker with their PS3s all the time, including using them for servers for music and bits and pieces. But they can also install stuff like Linux applications, and those do hickeys on it. So as soon as someone sort of cracked the code, you'll find everyone having a field day with it. I understand why Sony's doing it, though, because they have every right to. They've got all these services that they've streamlined into the PS4. So if you're not going to use those services, they shouldn't really allow you to use others, because it's going to make people... Yeah, of course it lacks choice, but there's the other part where you're going to end up probably pirating stuff and putting it onto their servers.
True. Oh, and the music service was their Music Unlimited service, which I had to think about. Yeah, that's
I never use that anyway.
Me either.
I think they're trying to force you into using that. That's probably why they're doing it. Any other thoughts on this, crew?
I mean, this audio CD thing is not really that big of a deal, to be completely honest. Like, I never use my PS3 to play audio CDs. I mean, I don't even really use audio CDs that much anyway, to be completely honest. So that's not... I mean, the MP3 thing is more of a drag, to be honest.
Xander, what about yourself?
I'm in the same boat. I don't really use my my PlayStation 3 or my 360 to play CDs. I actually have all my CDs packed up in my closet just because I have so many of them and I don't listen to them because it's all on my computer now. So it's just one of those things. I don't want to get rid of them, but at the same time, it's just they're kind of a nuisance right now. So
what about you, Zach?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it should... I don't understand how they could have, like, a Blu-ray player in there, but it just doesn't read CDs. I don't know, but I think... I understand why they're doing it. I mean, you look at Apple, you know, and how they have one fan base of people and how, they're selling everything on iTunes and all that kind of stuff. They got that stuff, like, under lock and key over there. So, I mean, I agree that it's a good move for them. They're going to make a lot of money through it. But I think everything... I think I should play everything anyway, but I mean, business-wise, yeah.
Yeah, we can understand why it's happening. It's like, it's not the biggest deal known to man, but it does hinder a lot of people's progress, especially if you're a progressive person like myself, who likes to tinker with their system. So, Miguel, have you got any more news for us?
Well, let's see, I just pulled up one that I'm reading really quick. There's one right now that EA apparently has canceled their free-to-play version of Command & Conquer that they've had out for I don't know how long it's been out, but apparently they've had this free version of Command & Conquer out for the PC, and they've recently had to cancel it. The reason is because they just recently closed down the studio attached to the free-to-play Command & Conquer game, Victory Studios, which, it's always unfortunate to hear a company go down, even one that really I haven't heard of until now, but it's just unfortunate. I mean, I guess it didn't do enough to really support itself. I mean, that's kind of the catch-22 of free-to-play, is that you have to have a big enough consumer fan base to justify going free-to-play, and I guess in this case, Command & Conquer just didn't have that fan base anymore, or just the freeware version just didn't have its fans.
Very, very true. We'll start with you, Chris. What do you think?
About that? I mean, I haven't played Command & Conquer since, like, 1997 or something like that. So, I mean, honestly, a free-to-play Command & Conquer, yeah, while that's, I mean, I guess cool for people who still play it, that, for me, that's the kind of an irrelevant game. I don't really know anybody who plays even RTSs as much anymore. I mean, do you guys play RTS?
No.
Nah.
I never played RTSs, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, so whatever. I mean, yeah, it sucks that they got rid of Victory Studios. Like you just said, I mean, I haven't even heard of that company until now, so I guess it's not that huge of a deal, to be completely honest. And they're just kind of getting rid of stuff that nobody cares about.
I got another bit of news. If there's nothing else we have to say about this,
I had one thing to say about it.
Oh, go ahead.
It you know, when I hear about studios closing down and like, you know, games no longer being playable, it just really hinders me for the next generation, because, you know, we're seeing things go more and more digital now that, you know, if these games ever go down, I mean, you won't be able to play them anymore. You know what I'm saying?
They've already announced that they're refunding everybody's money. The people that have invested money in like downloadable content and things like that. That's how a lot of free-to-play games work. You make back money in just items and knickknacks. They've already announced that they're going to refund everybody's money for it as they close it down.
Yeah, I mean, like DC Universe Online did really well after they went free to play. So I'd imagine a bunch of people did spend a lot of money on it.
Well, they still have loads of downloadable content you can actually purchase for it as part of the deal. I believe now they're doing box sets which has all the downloadable content with.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that's it's kind of a sad move, because I'm a huge Command & Conquer Red Alert fan. I love that game. It holds a personal place in my heart, and also because of the fact that Ric Flair was beaten up by a guy in a bear suit in the commercials, which always makes me laugh. Flair versus bear.
Yeah, I mean, how old is that game, though? Like, that's a really old game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you totally. But it's a shame that EA doesn't see it as a financially viable concept, that they don't want to continue with the free-to-play beta stages.
Yeah.
So, Zach, do you have anything on this?
No, not on this subject, no.
Cool. Okay, Miguel, go.
All right. Well, first off, I just want to say, in terms of Command & Conquer, I will say one thing that I liked about it. I respected the fact that they were one of the few companies that still did full motion cutscenes, and they got some great actors and some really good production value in those latter games. I'd love to see more games embrace that cinematic quality. I think we've reached the point where it no longer has that cheesy mid-90s FMV look that a lot of those early CD-based games had.
Yeah, like some Final Fantasy VII stuff.
No, I'm talking more along the lines of like Sewer Shark or
like Resident Evil.
The first Resident Evil game, stuff like that.
Well, if you guys want to check out a bit more on games like Sewer Shark, make sure that you check out one of our members who's not here with us today, Mr. Travis Goss's Those Kind of Reviews Let's Plays. He's actually Let's Playing Sewer Shark at this point in time, so check that out, guys. And also, a very happy birthday to Travis. So, before we continue with the news, we have to do this.
Nope.
Does everyone want to do it?
Did we lose Michael?
No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right,
I can hear you.
Chris, have you muted yourself? Are you okay? Can you hear me? Chris Locs? Okay, I think we've lost Chris. We're going to try and bring him back to the call for a second. Right, Chris, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, before we continue, I want to give a very, very, very big happy birthday to Travis Goss. So guys, 1, 2, 3, let's give him a big happy birthday. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
There you go. Right, so Chris, do you have any news for us?
News? I mean, the only thing that I was looking at was, honestly, I was looking at the Battlefield 4 comparisons between the next gen and the current gen, and it was pretty disparate between like the Xbox One and the PS4. And I'm a huge PlayStation fan, and I was like pretty upset with the way that the PlayStation 4 looked compared to the Xbox One version. The Xbox One version just looks insanely good. So I was pretty upset about that, to be completely honest. I'm pretty disappointed with Sony right now. Although I don't really know what are the specs. I don't really know much about the specs versus but on the Xbox One versus PS4. All I know is that it looks like the Xbox One graphically is amazing. Like that, I don't know if you guys have seen this video, but it pretty much compares the two to a T, and it's incredibly different.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to head down to trial the Xbox One for the Xbox One tour as part of I Got Gameplay. Oh, pass. And I had loads of fun on Battlefield 4. We were doing a player versus player match-up, and it was great. And I don't know what the PS4 version's like, because I haven't trialed or tested the PS4 as of yet, but I feel very positive for the console itself. It did everything that is said on the tin, and the gameplay, the mechanics, the graphics, the environment, everything looks so beautiful on there.
Yeah, I mean, the video that I was watching, it looked incredible. And I know people are playing the PS3 version right now, and I'm just wondering how many people are going to actually upgrade when they get the PS4, if they are.
Very true. Very true.
I don't even plan. I personally don't plan on getting a PS4 until next year at some point. I'm not going to get it early.
I've taken off my pre-order because there's not enough for it. At this point in time. So everybody, let's throw it over to the panel here. Miguel, what's your thoughts on this? Would you care if there was better graphics quality in comparison to Xbox One and the PS4 versions of Battlefield 4?
I'm looking at still shots of the difference, and honestly, I don't see much of a difference. I mean, yeah, the PS4's textures maybe aren't as vibrant as the Xbox One, but I think if you tweak your settings on your TV right enough, you could probably even that out. Or
check out the environments, some of the environment stills, and even the motion of the video, are like you said. I mean, the X1's colors are a lot more vibrant, but even the details in some of the buildings and the backgrounds are a lot better.
I've actually heard that there's actually some issues with the Xbox One in terms of their RGB output, that they don't output the full range of colors through the red, green, and blue. Their red, green, and blue output.
Really?
I've heard that one of the things you notice in the Xbox One version is that as vibrant as the colors are, a lot of the environments are dark, a lot darker, and that's due to go ahead.
Oh, I thought. When the video that I saw, it looked like that was the PlayStation's problem.
Huh. Well, I'm reading on the an article that used the footage from the Eurogamer's comparisons, and it mentions that the you know how the RGB frequencies have a range between 0 and 255 in terms of their color range. In the case of the color range for RGB on the Xbox One, the Xbox One only outputs in the range between 16 and 235. So there's some colors missing out of that range. What?
I was agreeing with you.
Yeah, there's some colors missing from there, so there are some moments where it does look a bit darker in there. I've heard people comment that the graphics on the PS4s maybe have much more of a quote-unquote natural look. I would have to check out the actual videos, but from the stills I've seen, I didn't really see too much of a difference. And in all honesty, the overall detail is probably going to be just as good regardless. So in terms of graphics, at this point in the game, I don't think graphics are that big of a deal anymore. I mean, unless you're going from PS4 to PS2 graphics, then yeah, but I think graphics have gotten so detailed and to the point where it's kind of just it's gotten to the point where there's not much you can really argue about. You're seeing everything.
The difference is pretty much negligible, is what you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
I'm kind of inclined to agree with that.
Okay. What about you, Xander? What do you think of this? Does graphical environments make a difference to you, or do you...
Not at all. I mean, I still enjoy playing, my retro games. So, I mean, I don't know. It all has to do with gameplay for me. You know, like I'll hear someone, you know, talking about Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and they're like, oh, well, this is running in 720 and this is running in 1080. I'm like, how good is the game? You know, and that's honestly the reason why I'm waiting on getting anything in the new generation, because there's nothing that really tickles my fancy about buying for the new generation, because I mean, the way systems are, it's an investment. Like, you have to put down a lot of money, and in my opinion, it's not going anywhere, so I'll just wait a year, see what the systems have to offer, see what kind of defects they're going to have, because, you know, these systems might have bugs. Everyone's already acting like a gaining profit and saying who's going to win this console war, and I'm like, they're not even out yet, you know? So, I don't know. It's not that big of a deal to me.
Totally agree with you on that one. So, Zach, opinion?
Yeah, I agree with Xander. Graphics never came first for me ever. I haven't seen any of these comparisons. I have seen some, like, it might have been that versus the PC, the Xbox One versus the PC one that I saw, and the Xbox One looked almost like a regular Xbox game. It just looked terrible. But anyway, I mean, I personally don't really care. I mean, good graphics can blow me away, but it's never really what sucks me in to play anything.
Okay. So, Chris, you got some more for us?
Yeah, actually, I do have one more thing. My fair city of San Francisco is going to become Gotham City for a day on November 15th. The Make-A-Wish Foundation is giving an unfortunate child who has been stricken with leukemia the opportunity to meet Batman and ride around in the entire city as Batman's sidekick while Batman defeats the Riddler and Penguin, and then they're gonna go have lunch at like this place called Burger Bar, and then Batman is gonna go kick some more villain ass for this kid, and everybody in the entire city is invited to join and participate and spectate. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's going to be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which Batman, though?
It's going to be, I don't know, it doesn't say, the article I'm looking at doesn't say which Batman, like which version of Batman, but I imagine it's going to be like closer to like the Nolan version of Batman. Considering the fact that this kid's 5.
I would assume that considering a lot of the other Batmans, I'm talking like Paul now, Batmen are probably busy. It'd be funny if it was like Val Kilmer's Batman. It'd be funny if it was Val Kilmer. I mean, he's not doing anything right now.
He's gotten kind of big, though.
He can't fit into the bat suit anymore.
Yeah, right? Yeah, Val Kilmer is pretty fat now.
He'd be a good penguin.
But yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about that. They're going to give the kid a costume. He's going to have a Batmobile. He's going to be driving around the city. And I'm off on that day. I'm off on Friday, so I'm going to get to see this entire thing unfold. So anybody who's in San Francisco, definitely check it out.
Sounds awesome.
Somebody needs to cosplay as Superman.
Too bad this kid's going to die.
Yeah, that always kind of hinders fun, doesn't it? Oh, you're going to die. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. But we'll go beat the Penguin up.
Yeah. I mean, I actually told a friend of mine about this the other day, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but this kid is going to die.
Hey, you know what? At least he gets to kick ass with Batman. That's the main thing here.
That's true, man. That's pretty awesome.
So, let's move on to Xander. What have you got for us, Xander?
Well, I got some news. I actually got 2 things to talk about. One of them, I know you guys are going to be so heartbroken about this. I read it and I kind of got depressed, but they're taking off the swap note on the 3DS. You will no longer be able to exchange little notes to each other. Nintendo canned it because of apparently there were a lot of people sending inappropriate things to each other, and they're trying to keep it kid friendly. And it's all sarcasm because I could really care less. But
how will Burhan send pictures of his penis to other female players?
That's
exactly
what started. That's the reason why they're doing it, Michael. It's your fault. You should have quit singing all those little winkies and stuff like that, because now none of us can do it.
I'm waiting
but yeah,
a bit of WhatsApp, because that's probably what I use WhatsApp for.
But yeah, they're taking that away. Right now they're saying it's suspended. of course, people read it and they automatically, got their panties in a bunch and they're just like, oh, Nintendo's doing this, and they were making a big deal about it. The way I look at it is it's an app. It's not like they were canceling a new Zelda or they were pushing back a game like they have done with South Park. It got pushed back again. But, yeah, they're taking out Swapnote. Also, a Kickstarter that I found out about that kind of has to do with what we're talking about tonight. And me and Michael shared some stuff about this. The new Ghouls and Ghosts that's coming out on Kickstarter. And it seems very, very interesting because it seems kind of smoky windows,
No, I agree with you totally. Because if you look at this video, guys, I'm going to be posting a bit about this as well on the I Got Gameplay Facebook page. So if you want to go to facebook.com/IGotGameplay to find out more about this. But there's a company that's basically stating that they've got the nod from Capcom to remake Ghouls and Ghosts, in a sense, to provide us with a new Ghouls and Ghosts game. And I'm going to just try and pull up some details on this as we speak, because I want to go and do a bit of play-by-play on this. Because it's very weird how this kind of started, because Xander introduced us into the conversation while we were trying to make sure we got all the hosts together for the show this week. And there's a Kickstarter open for a game called Ghosts and Goblins, Demon World. And it's by a guy called Monty Singleton. It has 59 backers currently, and over 18 comments. It's pledged, the pledge goal was like 50 grand, because they're doing the Ouya backing fund where they get 50 grand for it, then the Ouya will back that, and then they get to keep it on their console as a first party title for up to a year. The thing that worried me about it is if you check out the video, at first they go, oh, you know what, it's, the first thing they talk about is like how consoles and games are too violent for young children. That's not the first thing you want to say for Ghouls and Ghosts, because that's not really a kiddies game, to my knowledge anyway. Then they talk about the fact that Capcom's totally on board with this, and they're going to pledge 30 grand for the project. Then as the video progresses, they go, oh, actually, they're not agreed to it. That might just fall through. Well, they never said that they were going to put that for us. It was just, they said they might do, but they've got to look at our concepts. And it literally goes down from there. And I looked at this with Xander and I was like, this seems a bit too fishy. We went back and forth about this. Xander then took it to Johnny Millennium from the Happy Console Gamer as well. Johnny commented on it. He goes, it just looks too, it doesn't look right. And I tried to get I opened a dialogue channel up with Capcom recently, tried ringing them, tried emailing them about this. They haven't responded. And I was told actually to go to Capcom Unity before the show even started to get some more information on it. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to post any information that I find on this on the I Got Gameplay Facebook page, and also like comment on this next week's show as well. It seems a little too fishy that a studio would take... firstly, having a studio that takes titles from other companies and tries to revive them with the company saying, well, we want to look at it, that doesn't help, because there's licensing issues, there's copyright issues that goes on with it. Studios will probably never allow someone or a company in general to work on their titles. They got to, look at the concept, look at everything that's going on, and it just doesn't seem right. It just seems like, and they've got this whole, what we'll do is, if you're not happy with this, we'll give you your money back, 100% of what you funded on the project, absolutely back to you. Now, I'm assuming this is once they get the Ouya backing, so they won't need the 50 grand to begin with. And secondly, with Kickstarter, they give the money over to the companies. The company has they have no prerogative to give that money back to you. So unless he gets the email addresses down of everybody, you give him your bank details, you give him all your personal information for him to give you your money back once the project gets funded. I don't understand how they're going to do that.
I agree. When I first saw it, I was really excited. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh my god, new Ghouls and Ghosts, you know? But yeah, the more they started talking about it, and then he was like, oh, well, you know, if Capcom doesn't support it, we'll just pull a Popeye. We'll just change all the names of the characters and still come out with it. And I'm like, still not convincing. It's kind of weird.
And the fact that they're saying that it's going to be on the Ouya as well was another thing, because the Ouya's been mirrored with a load of issues with that console because of the fact that I believe they funded 2 backers who were actually removed from Kickstarter for funding their own projects. You know, so it goes into a whole sort of circle of debate here on whether this project is actually true or not. To me, it doesn't really look as this project will come to life. It seems extremely fishy, and as I said again, if Monty and his company were serious, they had like all these sketches, didn't they? Of like game art and stuff. I think Capcom, if you went to Capcom and approached them with this and said, look, this is what we want to do, Capcom would probably have said, look, how much do you need to actually get this project up and running? And if I said to Capcom 50 grand, I think Capcom could give me 50 grand. They wouldn't have an issue. So why is he going to Kickstarter, and why is he saying that he wants to put it on the Ouya? This is what the big thing is with me. It doesn't seem right. It just seems too good to be true in a sense, and he doesn't seem like he wants to sell the project as much. For me, if this project gets funded and he ran away with people's money, I'd be sitting there going, well, you put your money into it, because the end of the day, this is the downside of projects like Kickstarter. This is the downside, because it's there as a creation tool, and with a guy like Monty here, as I said, I'm not gonna downplay it. I'm not gonna call him a crook or anything like that. It just seems a bit too fishy. It doesn't, and to me, to a lesser extent, it doesn't seem like he has much faith in this project when watching the pitch video. So let's throw it over to the panel here. Miguel, what do you think about this? I'll give you the Kickstarter page so you can have a look. There you go. It's down there for you.
I don't know what to say. I mean, did they say they were associated with the Ouya? Because I know for a while the Ouya had that whole indie gamer program that they were doing, where if your game got a certain number of backers, they would foot the bill for you.
They're still doing it. Yeah.
So
still doing that.
It could be one of those situations where they're trying to fake enough. They're trying to fake enough quote unquote backers that Ouya will pick up this foot up this game, and they can put it out, and possibly they're using the Ghouls and Ghosts name as the means to get more people to back it. They're trying to ride on that name. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Time will tell if this is actually going to be a scam, or if this is just going to blow up in people's faces, or what.
Zach?
I hope it happens. I mean, I love Ghouls and Ghosts and Ghosts and Goblins, so I'd love to. I mean, as far as the other stuff goes about, getting your money back or whatever, I'm kind of don't really have any opinion on it. But I love the game. I love the other ones. I used to binge play them all the time, and I'd love to play another one.
Okay, just got a caller on the line right now from the 240 area code. Caller, you are live on I Got Gameplay. Who shall I say speaking?
Hello, this is Jeff Coop.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing there, mate? You got any? What's your point of view on this news about the Ghosts and Goblins game that they've got up on Kickstarter? Do you think this is real? Do you think it's fake? Do you think the project will start? Do you think it's just? Have you checked anything about it?
I think it could be real. I mean, maybe they're trying to get gamers back, like some of their fans back into Capcom games. Like, I know a lot of people got lost in Capcom because of the whole Mega Man stuff when it teased about making a new Mega Man game and then didn't bring that out. So maybe this is a way to try to get the old school fans back into Capcom.
Yeah, very true, but it's not actually Capcom that's developing this. This is actually a different studio that's been set up to revive old franchises, apparently. But at the moment, we've got a bit of concept art. There's no word, because at first they were saying, yeah, we're going to bring this game back. Capcom's totally behind it. Then they kind of digressed and said, actually, Capcom said that they're going to give us like 30 grand for it. Okay, they didn't say that. Actually, what they're saying is we've got to show them all our concepts and stuff, and they may back it. Oh, and also we're putting it on the Ouya. So, do you think that there's any truth to it, do you think?
Yes, I don't know.
Okay, so Chris, you're the last man on the shelf here. What do you think?
Honestly, I was never really that big of a Ghosts and Goblins fan. I really think it's I personally think it's kind of a dead franchise, and I think that if we're going to revive anything, it should be like Contra.
I love Contra.
But, I'm not really a huge Contra fan either, but, that has more of a hold on I don't know, if you say Contra, more people are apt to listen to that than, Ghosts and Goblins. I don't know. I never was a huge fan of that game. I found it stupid. So, I really don't care. I couldn't care either way if it goes or not.
Xander, you got anything else for us?
That's it.
So let's go to Zack. Zack, do you have any news for us today?
Yep, I just have one thing. Xander mentioned it a little bit. Very sadly, South Park and the Stick of Truth is delayed again. It was supposed to come out this year, and then it got delayed to December, which I was going to pick it up as soon as it came out. I'm a huge South Park fan, plus it's an RPG. And anyway, it got delayed again until March 4th of next year, so it sucks that we have to wait even longer to play it.
Very much so. Anybody got any thoughts on this? Jeff, what are your thoughts on South Park, The Stick of Truth? I think he's gone.
I think we lost him, yeah.
Well, I think we did. So let's put it back to the panel. Miguel, what do you think?
I had heard about it, in all honesty. I believe it had a pretty big developer behind it, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was THQ at first.
That might be an issue, considering it's a pickup. Who picked it up, by the way?
Deep Silver.
It's an indie company.
Yeah, because it was Deep Silver. Actually, I'm not very far the indie company. They're more a big game developer because they've got a very big amount of money poured into it. Because they were actually owned by the former Koch E1, who actually owns a very big stake in the company. They've done the Dead Island series of games, and they purchased a huge load of THQ titles, including, I believe, most people call it a GTA parody. It's the
Saints Row?
The Saints Row?
Saints Row. They just
Saints Row was THQ?
They were THQ.
Yeah, it was
I did
Volition.
not know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Volition have now partnered up with Deep Silver.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what to say because South Park games have had such a rough history. Dating back to the first South Park game on the N64, so I can't really sit here and say that it's something I've been really looking forward to. What?
That game was kind of fun for 5 minutes.
It was just basically Turok skinned with South Park. It was made by the guys who made the Turok game for the 64. But
was that THQ also?
No, that was Acclaim. That was Acclaim.
Okay.
Iguana Entertainment was the company that made
yes.
Made it.
NBA Jam style.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as we're going on that, Xander, what's your opinion on this? Are you sad about it?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think the reason why it keeps getting pushed back, honestly, is because, we're developing these characters. Kenny keeps on getting killed, and the system just keeps messing up, and they just need to keep bringing Kenny back. So, if they bring back Kenny, I think that we'll finally get the game. But no, in all seriousness, I think I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's got a lot of promises. Miguel said that the last South Park games kind of had a rocky road, Personally, I liked the South Park game that I liked was the Chef game show game.
Chef's Love Shack.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But no, like I wish it'd finally come out with it. It sucks they keep pushing it back though.
Very true. So yeah, as we're moving on from that, guys, let's go back to Miguel, because Miguel's got a few... Oh yeah, sorry, Chris. Go for it.
Well, I mean, it's pretty quick. I'm pretty bummed about it, to be honest. The game looks awesome. I love South Park. I think that it looks like a fun RPG, and honestly, I haven't had a fun RPG to play in a really long time. Like, you know, I played Super Paper Mario, but, you know, that's kind of lame. I was really looking forward to it. It looks just like the show, and it looks cool to me, and I'm really sad, honestly.
Okay, let's move on quickly to Miguel. So, Miguel, you've got a few more bits of news. Go for it.
I do. I've got two, actually. I don't know. I mean, we can talk about the first one. One of them is kind of worth mentioning, and the other one is actually a segue into our main topic. But I guess we'll try to go through them quick. The first one is news from EA Sports that EA Sports has officially severed their ties to Tiger Woods. Their PGA games will no longer be labeled as Tiger Woods PGA Tour. They'll just be PGA Tour. They've completely severed ties with Tiger Woods. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, the guy's had such a great history in the media as of late. But
he has sold 40 million, you know, in terms of the games themselves. You can't deny that. I understand that he's not probably the most endearing individual, but he's made a heck of a lot of money for the franchise in general.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to, like, slow down their sales if they take away Tiger Woods' name.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there's going to be any other company that might shell out the cash to sign Tiger Woods' name, because I can't think of another company that has a golf title to their name. The only company I can think of would probably be Sony, and that's only because they have the engine that they use for Hot Shots Golf. Like, if they wanted to, they could take that same engine and maybe make their own Tiger Woods game if they could sign him to it.
Nintendo could do it. Nintendo could do it. Tiger Woods meets Mario Golf.
They could even do something with 2K, and 2K could actually just use him as a stepping stone to bring out their own golf franchise.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
we should work for these companies.
Well, we've seen it before, like, you know, with the FIFA franchise and Pro Evolution Soccer. At one point, FIFA actually never had the licenses to names of the players. That actually went to Pro Evolution Soccer, and they had all the licensed characters and stuff. They lost the license at one point. So they used that to build their franchise before EA took the names back. So, you know. Yeah.
I believe EA just recently lost the rights to use the names of the NCAA.
They did a little while ago. That's true.
Yeah, so that might actually cause. I'm waiting for 2K to start bringing back their college sports games, because those are great games, but they couldn't use the license, and it really hurt them. So maybe this might be a detriment to the Tiger Woods games. I mean, according to the article, the games have sold pretty well as is. I mean, I don't know if it'll hurt the progress, but we'll see how that goes with oh, hold on, actually, it looks like the next one is actually being canceled, so they might actually be getting out of the PGA Tour games altogether.
Which is, you know, speaking of a fan of the genre of gaming myself, my dad used to play it a lot when I was a kid. Back to when we had the Xbox. Well, the Xbox is still actually up on my shelf. But when he had that, he was playing as many of the PGA Tour games as possible. He had all the Tiger Woods games when they came out first day, and that's speaking from someone who literally had no understanding of what these games represented, because to me it's like golf, you know, until I actually started playing on the Wii, then I actually took more interest. But with those, he seemed quite happy, and I know there's a following there, and the games themselves has banked a lot of money for EA, so going in that direction, I don't see it as a good move.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So yeah, Xander, what's your opinion?
I don't really play a whole lot of golf games, so I mean, only golf game I really like is like Mario Golf and Hot Shots. So,
Zach, any opinions?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised it took so long. I mean, this guy's been being a dick for, a couple of years now, and I mean, maybe they had like a contract with him or something, but yeah, it probably will affect the sales, but yeah, I'm just surprised that it's taken so long. But someone said Tiger Woods meets Mario Golf. Yeah,
that was me, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny, but yeah, I don't think that would ever happen.
Of course not. Nintendo doesn't want to be involved with Tiger Woods' debauchery in any way.
Right, yeah.
Well, the Nintendo from Japan, they showed debauchery to their kids, so who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
If you see me with another copyright claim, you'll know why. Anyway, going on from that, Miguel, what's the next piece of news that you have?
Well, since we're 5 minutes away from reaching the 1 hour mark, I figured we can make this the last article because it actually ties in really well with our topic tonight. Resident Evil 5 has officially surpassed Street Fighter 2 as the highest-selling game in Capcom's history.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, Street Fighter 2 has sold a combined total of 6.3 million units, and Resident Evil 5 just recently passed that with 6.5 million units in its lifespan, making it the highest-selling Capcom game in the company's history.
Boy, that's crazy. I have both of those games.
Yeah, but Resident Evil 5 was actually terrible, and
no, it
Street Fighter
wasn't.
2 was playable. Yes, it was. It took Resident Evil 4's concept and shat all over it.
No,
it was.
Resident Evil 5 was really fun, and I enjoyed the co-op mode and even the Mercenaries Online stuff. That game was great. I'll still play that game right now. I'll play it right now while I'm talking to you.
Well, what's funny is that the number 3 highest selling game, according to the article I'm reading, is Resident Evil 6 with 5.2 million copies.
Oh,
and then
that I didn't like as much. I have that too, but I didn't like it as much.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised because I would have thought Resident Evil 4 would have actually sold higher considering how acclaimed it is by comparison, but I guess this is the case of the sequel making more money even though the sequel just isn't as good as the first one. It's a case of the sequel riding on the success of the first one.
I'm surprised that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 wasn't on the top 3.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2, in my opinion, it's a great game, but at the same time, when it came out, it wasn't really promoted as well. I mean, you look at how rare a lot of those copies are. I mean, for the original Xbox, for the PS2, for the Dreamcast, it wasn't really out there that much, so I can understand why that wouldn't be anywhere near the top whatever.
Yeah, but they have the online version. I mean, I have the online version on the PS3 and the Xbox, you know what I mean?
Well, apparently it hasn't sold enough to where it's actually hurt the value of the games because you could still find copies of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like hard copies for like $40, whereas back in the day it was like $100. So until the game drops down to like a $5 value, I don't think just because it's on the digital download it's going to ever reach the heights of Resident Evil 5.
I think you're right.
Well, Xander, what do you think of this?
Well, I can't believe Resident Evil 6 even in there. I hated that game. But going to the Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I think the popularity of that is a lot of it's from the arcades. That was a huge arcade game, and that was probably one of the last actual really good arcade fighters that we had before the arcade market started going down. So because I remember playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Soul Calibur at the last arcade we had in my town. But
surprisingly enough, I never saw a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet. I've always wanted to see one, but I've never. I saw a Soul Calibur cabinet. It was at a random movie theater I went to back in Jersey. They just happened to have a Soul Calibur cabinet.
That's funny because the where I had the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cab was a movie theater back in Jersey.
Yeah, it was. I've never seen a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet, but I'd love to see one.
They actually had a really awesome arcade in the Metron out here that had Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and a whole bunch of fighting games, but they sold all the cabs and closed about 2 years ago.
I still say the most impressive arcade cabinet I saw was the one for NFL Blitz. I think it was it was Blitz 2000. No, it was Blitz 2000 because it had the big screen with the 4 controller ports, and in the middle of it, it even had a slot where you can put in your N64 cartridge, and you can upload your game file. That impressed me for some reason.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, I liked when they would allow you to put like your memory cards and stuff in the cabinets. That was really cool. Like Initial D did that. That was pretty cool.
Neo Geo cabinets did that too.
Yeah.
Zach, what's your opinion on this?
Well, what did you guys say was number 2? Was it Street Fighter 4?
No, or was it?
No, Street Fighter 2
Street Fighter
at 6.3
2,
million units. It was number 1 until recently when Resident Evil 5 surpassed it.
Right. Well, I've never played Resident Evil 5, but I remember I'd watch my buddy play it all the time, and he seemed to like it a lot. Yeah, it's surprising to me that anything's going to beat Street Fighter. I mean, there's so many versions of Street Fighter 2. I mean, there's the original one, like the Warrior, whatever it was called, World Warrior, World Warrior. Then there was, Turbo, and then
Dash,
Super. And there was also that
Special Champions Edition.
Yeah, the special. Yeah, so I mean, there's so many versions. It's very surprising to me that anything is really going to top that. So anyway,
I think when they calculated Street Fighter 2 copies, I think they just went with the original Street Fighter 2. Maybe they took into account all the variations, but I think if you did that, you'd probably be in like the tens of millions by that point, because there's just so many different versions of that game.
I mean, I'd imagine they'd at least count the original, like, what is it, 5 versions that were on the Genesis and the N64 or and the Super Nintendo.
I believe
like
so.
The World Warrior, then Dash, and then the Championship Edition, and then Super and Super Turbo. I guess Super Turbo was only on the 3DO, so maybe not.
No, I think in terms of like all the ones that are directly connected to Street Fighter 2, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think anybody even bought a 3DO, let alone that game.
Well, segueing from that, guys, let's talk about a few more things, because I just want to grab these couple of little bits of news in before we finish up in the news section. The first one is a rumor that Epic's new game is going to be revealed on the launch of the PS4 at midnight. Mark Rain, the vice president or co-founder of Epic Games, recently on his Twitter he posted a countdown to the PS4 midnight launch and seemed reasonable enough, but when Geoff Keighley announced a GTTV that would be announcing a ton of new PS4 games at midnight launch, and this is tied to Mark Rain's previous tweet or the exact same time. Not to mention that Mark Rain retweeted Geoff's tweet about the GTTV show, and checked his previous tweets, he never retweeted any of Geoff's tweets in the past. And how very interesting, it shows that Epic Games may have a release set for the PS4's midnight launch. So we'll start with you, Zach. What do you think? Zach, you there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I had to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Epic apparently are going to be releasing a new game at launch time for the PS4. Excited? Not very excited?
Who's the maker of it?
Epic Games.
I'm not familiar with anything they've actually put out, I don't think.
Gears of War?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could go either way. I'm not a big fan, I guess.
But on that could actually be something rather big as well, for the fact that they were exclusive to the Microsoft Xbox.
Good point.
With the Gears of War franchise. So that could be a big coup in Sony's cap for that. Xander?
I'm anxious to see what it's going to be about. I know I like Epic Game Studio because that's a local studio here in my town. Actually, like their studio is like 2 hours away from my city, and I don't know. I'm anxious to see what it's going to be. I wonder if it's going to be some sort of like Gears of War type game, you know?
Miguel, what about you?
Well, I mean, clearly this is setting up for the announcement of a next generation Jazz Jackrabbit sequel. I mean, obviously. Or maybe even better, finally, the next-gen remake of Epic Pinball. Anybody remember that from the DOS days?
No,
absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I for the longest time still had my demo disc where it had the cyborg, the Android themed pinball cabinet. Awesome.
And Chris, what about you?
You know, I really could care less about Epic. I really don't care about anything they do. At all. I'm just being, like, I mean, I don't really like Gears of War, like, whatever, dude. Like, do whatever you want, man.
Well, segueing on for Chris Locs' hate for Epic. Sony explains how the PS4 required less investment than the PS3 and hints to a future investment for cloud gaming. Yesterday, Sony held its quarterly financial conference call, and quite obviously, many of the questions from the analysts and investors were related to the upcoming PS4. While answering to one of the questions during the session, Japanese Vice President and Investor Relations Yoshinoro Hashitani explained how the PS4 required less investment than the PS3 and also hinted of a possibility of a future investment for servers dedicated to cloud gaming. So we hit that for you, Xander. What do you think of that? Do you think the PS4 being cheaper than the PS3 in terms of investment is a good thing?
I think it's always good in the sense that cheaper, it's easier to get more games for your system and stuff. I'm still kind of weird about cloud gaming though. I mean,
yeah,
because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about Command and Conquer. That the developers, they're all out of jobs now and you can't play the game anymore. So what happens if they come out with a new game for cloud? You absolutely love this game. And then developers get bankrupt, and it's like, oh yeah, that game that you love to play, yeah, you can't play it anymore.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's exactly it, and that's the problem. And as I've said, I've been a huge fan of the Xbox Arcade titles that have stopped working because you can't play them anymore. There's just no point to it. It's annoying, extremely annoying, and hopefully there isn't going to be too much big of investment in terms of Sony, because I know they have hinted as well about developing an app where you could actually play the PlayStation 4 on various different consoles and stuff, which is a very risky development. Miguel, what about you? What do you think?
I think all the consoles have this sweetheart mentality in terms of wanting to get away from physical media. They really want to push a system that they have more control over, mostly just to get rid of types of piracy. And I think we're going to see a lot of that push in the next generation consoles, is not just on the PS4, but the Xbox One. It doesn't surprise me that they're the ones to say it, because if it wasn't them, it would be Microsoft basically saying, yeah, we're pushing forward with cloud gaming more and more. Time will tell if that goes through, because there's so many factors you've got to consider in terms of cloud gaming. One of them being internet infrastructure, which unfortunately we just don't have in America. I know that in Europe there's more of a push towards fiber optic infrastructure and really getting that connection to people. Not so much here in America. That's really a third party thing, and there's no companies really out there that are really pushing for that. So I don't know how successful this push is going to be, but we'll see how far they're willing to go.
And Zach, what about you?
Cloud gaming. Well, I don't. Everything I buy video game wise is always physical. But when I was living with one of my roommates, I remember he got PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale, and he bought it the day at midnight when it came out, and he didn't have to go to the store, and have to have it even earlier because there was no midnight release for that. Then you would have to wait till the next day when they open to pick it up. So there's definitely pros about it. The one reason I don't buy anything that's digital is because kind of the points that you guys were making before, the idea that you paid for it, and it is possible that at some point you won't have it anymore. But yeah, so there are, it cuts down on cost to have to make a case and an actual disc, but still I think they charge the same amount, but I guess you do save on gas and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm for it. I just don't actually support it.
Very much so. And Chris?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as far as the cloud gaming thing. I have a bunch of digital games on my PS3, but the only games that I have that are digital on my PS3 are games that I can't get physical copies for. I could get Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but I don't have a PS2 to play it on. I can't play it on my PS3, so that's why I downloaded it. Plus, I can do the online thing. But yeah, the same thing. I don't really support cloud gaming as much. I really like having the box, and I like, having an instruction manual, although instruction manuals are all but gone even in new games nowadays, which is pretty sad. Cloud gaming is weird. I don't like the idea. I hate that, what you just said, you can download a game and then, not be able to play it anymore because they just remove it and you're not allowed to play it anymore and you paid for it. It's kind of a gyp. It's a ripoff. Don't like it.
Very much so. And going on to we've got a few more little bits of news before we move on to today's topic. One, basically, Amazon responds to Target's buy 2 PS4 games, get 1 free deal. Now, though terribly spelled, Amazon CS response email states as November 10th, Amazon will be enacting a PlayStation 4 buy 2 games, get 1 free promotion to match the similar deal that's going on in Target, which they'll be offering on launch. So we'll throw that back to the panel quickly. Zach, what do you think of this? Good deal?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to talk about this in my news segment, but I didn't get the proper dates for it. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good deal. I mean, especially because I buy everything from Amazon anyway, so if you're going to get a PS4, you might as well save some money on the games, especially just like on launch pretty much. So, yeah, it's awesome.
Miguel?
It is what it is. I mean, I really don't care about that. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting a PS4 or an Xbox One at launch. I probably won't be getting one for another few years. So whatever they decide to do for their launches is their prerogative.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, same way. I'm not going to get a PS4 for at least a year after it launches. So I don't really give a crap.
And Xander.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool the fact that they're having some sort of sell with games on launch. I mean, I don't really recall any sort of sales like that ever happening on launches. So it's kind of cool that they're, catering to the fact that we don't have the best economy right now. So we're going to spend $500 on a new system. We might as well get a deal to get some games to play with it.
Very much so. And let's segue off of that rather quickly and talk about EA wants you to feel like their games are a steal. Many years ago, Andrew Wilson, the new boss of Electronic Arts, met rap impresario Russell Simmons, man behind Run DMC, LL Cool J, and other such hip-hop artists, to say something that stuck with him when his conversation with Wilson. Sorry about it, guys. My son's just woken up and he's decided to take part in the show and give us his own little theme music of crying. So yeah, he
just grab the chloroform and the rag and just take care of the situation. We'll wait.
Well, oh god, child services is on the line with me. Simmons said, "Listen, human beings have an inherent need to steal. It's built in our DNA," which is what Wilson told. Yeah, that's apparently what Wilson said. I thought, well, that's profound, but I actually don't feel like I have that need. Simmons also said, well, listen, there are 3 different ways you can fulfill that need. The way we try to satisfy that need is if we sell something for $20, we give you something for $25 in value, and by doing so, we have satisfied your inherent need to steal in a positive way. When people do that, they tell their friends. But Simmons also said, this is from Russell Simmons, I'm not making this up, if you give me $20 but I only give you $15, you leave thinking I stole from you. And that's the thing, being human beings hate the most to be stolen from, and that's really simple.
No, Russell, your people have an inherent need to steal.
Oh,
keep everybody else's people out of this.
That's even better. What? No, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Well,
what is this guy, Joker?
It gets the ACO Andrew Wilson. If you're asking for investment from a consumer in dollars and time, make sure they feel like you're stealing from you and that they are getting the best possible deal, and the rest will follow. Discuss.
I think. First, wait. He was talking about to EA about this.
Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, said that this is what happened. He had a conversation with Russell Simmons, and Russell Simmons said that everybody steals. We have this innate ability. So between me and Xander, every time I see Xander, I want to steal his Game Boy Advance. His Game Boy.
Yeah.
Every single time EA puts out a fucking Madden game, they're stealing from us. So I guess it was an appropriate conversation to have with somebody from EA.
I can't believe Russell Simmons said that. Xander, what's your opinion?
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Xander?
Yes, people have a need to also eat fried chicken and watermelon too. I feel that people have that inherent need, and putting spinners on our wheels. That's just We have that. I'm getting really racist right now. I gotta stop.
Yeah, you
I'm
really
gonna get this show pulled off the internet. Jesus Christ.
Oh, Miguel Leon, folks.
Live, everyone.
He'll be here all night. So Xander, yeah?
I have no desire to steal. This guy doesn't know me.
Oh, God. It's just coming thinking from the CEO of EA, says that he had this conversation with Russell Simmons, who says that everyone has the need to steal. Good job, EA.
You know, if you're going to be having that conversation, though, with the head of EA, you might as well be having that conversation with the Joker. Like, I'm just picturing that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm picturing that Nick Cage meme. You don't say.
Zach, what do you think?
This coming from EA, they're I don't know, I hate them, you know, and someone brought up Madden, and it's true. It's like, they're just, who is going to be like, oh, thank you for this, you know, I paid you $60, and but like, it's pretty much like it's worth $400. I don't know. This guy's dumb, and, yeah.
I mean, like, EA steals from us because they give us a $20 product for $60 every year. That's why I don't buy fucking Madden games anymore. I haven't bought a Madden game since, like, 2005.
Oh, God, this is hilarious. Any last thoughts on this before I move on to our last topic?
Fuck EA, man.
I think he's gotten the concept of maybe finding a good deal mixed with stealing. I mean, I'll admit, I'm okay. I appreciate a good deal. I appreciate getting my money's worth. I guess if that is considered stealing, depending on who's selling the product, maybe. You know, it's all in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. Yeah, stealing was
justification for that.
Yeah. I think that's what you're saying more, that people want to feel like they're getting a good deal for what they're buying, not so much that they're stealing.
EA, folks, they hate black people. Anyway.
That's why they got rid of Tiger Woods, huh?
You're absolutely right.
So, yeah, I'm trying to think what the last story is. Yeah, apparently, you can connect your console, your HDMI console, straight into your Xbox One via their HDMI input, and you can actually feed that console straight through the Xbox One itself into your television, because it's become more of an integrated system. So now you can play your Wii U if you want to, your Sony PS4, your PlayStation 3, any other console that you have that has a HDL, can literally plug into your Xbox One. So what's the thoughts on this? We'll start with you, Xander.
Sounds dirty. I mean, it gives I guess it gives the Xbox One more of a purpose. It is a cable box pretty much. So yeah.
Zach?
Well, I just don't understand why anyone would do that. Like, you have to have two consoles on, and you have to waste twice the electricity, I guess. I don't know.
Miguel?
Question. Does the Xbox One have video capture capabilities?
Yes, it does.
Then that's why. They want people to start using this as a video capture service. I'm guessing they're trying to get in on the Let's Play market, where, you know, if you want to do a Let's Play of, let's say, a Wii U game, you can connect your Wii U to the 360, to the Xbox One, capture the video through that, and I believe, isn't there an ability to where you can upload your footage from the Xbox One to the internet? Like, I think it has some deal with, like, Ustream or Justin.tv or something, some capabilities.
Yeah, Twitch. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's why they're pushing this. They want people to start using this to upload videos. They're cornering the Let's Play market, which, hey, I mean, if they can make money off of it by some way, or if they can create some type of a buzz for it, more power to them.
Let's not go back into that conversation. And finally, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to agree that they have to be cornering the Let's Play market, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, I have other video capture devices to do that. I mean, I guess they're just trying to make it simple, which I guess that's cool for, like, the layman or the people who are not going to be sitting around talking about video games on Skype for an hour. So yeah, whatever. Let them do whatever. I don't really give a crap about Xbox. Just whatever.
So
and with Epic and with Epic, I guess.
So let's go on.
Fuck both of those companies.
Let's go on, ladies and gentlemen, and move on to our theme for today's show, which is Horror Games, Part 2. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the things that go bump in the night, those games that will shock you, those that would make you crap your pants and leave you in such disdain that you never want to pick up your gamepad again. Yes, we are talking the horror games, those games that make us jump scare, or those that leave a lasting long impression in us, that we can never defeat the big bad evils of gaming history. So as we go into that, let's ask a question to our panel of hosts here. The big question I want to ask is, what was your favourite horror game growing up? So we'll start with you, Zach.
No, it's a good question. One of my favorite, it's not necessarily a scary game, but for Nintendo, for NES, they had Nightmare on Elm Street. The game itself, I don't think is scary, but it's based off of a horror movie, and I love that game. That game was so awesome. I'll just say a couple reasons why it was so awesome. It was 4-player. I didn't have one of those things to actually hook up 4 controllers, but I could definitely play it with 2 controllers. And like one thing, that you could get different power-ups. So you could be like your normal teenager, or you could become like a ninja, and you could have like this kick, that was strong. You could be a wizard. Yeah, and it was a really good game. You had to go around and collect bones, and then at the end of like every house, you have to fight a version of Freddy, and then at the end you fight all the versions again, and then you fight Freddy, and then you throw all his bones into I guess spoiler alert, might be. And and
I don't think you can spoil a 25-year-old game.
Yeah, true. Anyway, so whatever, you beat Freddy. And one thing that I always thought was funny about this game is this game, I don't know if it was made by LJN, and LJN makes complete garbage. Like, you watch The Nerd, about all LJN. But this game was made by LJN, and I loved this game. I thought it was so awesome. It kicked ass. I loved everything about it.
It must have not been anything like Maximum Carnage.
Or Friday the 13th.
Or Separation Society.
So let's go on to you, Miguel. What was the game that you had a long-lasting impression on you over time? The horror game that sort of sets itself apart from the rest.
Honestly, the first horror game that I ever played that would conceivably fit into the horror category, surprisingly enough, would probably be Dino Crisis on the PlayStation. That was actually the first survival horror game I ever played. I know most people put it in more of the action category, but it very much was built on the Resident Evil gameplay style, the Resident Evil architecture, and it got me into survival horror games from there. I think from there, the next big franchise that I got into was Resident Evil Code Veronica, which to me is one of my favorite entries in the series. From then on, I was hooked on all the I was hooked on survival horror games from there. But yeah, Dino Crisis was my first taste.
And Chris, what about you?
Honestly, the first horror game that I ever played was the original Resident Evil, and actually, I guess it wasn't the original one. It was the director's cut, and my brother and I used to turn all the lights off in the house and turn I had this huge TV, this giant fucking tube TV, which was just so 90s, but we just turn the whole the TV up all the way up and all the lights off in the house, and we just play that game. And I distinctly remember one time we were playing, and my next door neighbor heard what was going on and came to my house and rang the doorbell because they were so concerned. I thought that was pretty awesome. But that game scared the shit out of me and my brother, and it still scares the shit out of me. That game was awesome. Okay,
Xander, what about you?
Well, the whole horror genre is one of my favorites in gaming. So I have a pretty big palette. Like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, stuff like Sweet Home for the Famicom. But my favorite series of all time kind of falls into this, and that's Castlevania. I'm a huge Castlevania fan, so that was the first horror genre game I played. I mean, it was more action-based, but, it paid homage to all the Universal monster movies that I grew up with, like Frankenstein and Dracula, of course, and The Mummy and stuff like that, so definitely.
And down to myself, of course. My first experience of a horror game, I did talk about my time with Resident Evil previously in our last horror show. For me, I've got to think about that, actually. There was a game on the Amiga 500. I've forgotten what the name was. It was actually based on a very well-known movie franchise where you played a human that turned into a sort of monster-like creature. I think it was called Nightbreed, I believe. And it was an awesome little game. It used to scare the living crap out of me when I was a kid. And was something that I highly enjoyed. Can't find another copy of it. Probably nowadays I might not enjoy it as much. But that was an awesome little game. So let's go on now to horror games that made you sort of think that they gave a new edge to the term horror. So we'll bring that up. So Miguel, why don't you start?
A new game that brought
a horror game that gave you a different perception of the genre, so to speak. That changed the way you thought about it.
That's kind of it's hard to say, really. Let me think about. Well, in doing research for the topic, I actually found a bunch of top whatever horror games, and some of the games that were listed on there actually surprised me. But when I thought about it, it actually made sense. One of the games that it never would have dawned on me that this would be considered a horror game, but I can totally see it, is Manhunt from Rockstar.
Oh, great.
You don't really think that game is a horror game, but when you really think about it, if it was translated into a movie, absolutely that concept would be considered a horror concept. So that's something that really, because I think the problem is that it's not a supernatural horror, and it's not a fantasy-based horror, like let's say Castlevania, for example. It falls into that genre of realistic horror. It doesn't play off of any sort of unrealistic fears. It plays off of a very real fear. This guy going around killing people and whatnot. It makes a lot of sense that it would be considered horror. It's just not the horror you think of in terms of video games.
Very, very true. It has everything in terms of being a horror game. So I agree with you on that one. Xander, what about you?
I would have to say Eternal Darkness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Eternal Darkness. Like, we play games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill that kind of played on your psyche a little bit, but this game, it just really blew my mind, even to this day, like the stuff they did, because they had that whole insanity meter, and when your meter would go up, the game would just start doing weird stuff, and I remember, running around, my head would fall off, or, saving a game, and the game would actually make you think that it was deleting your memory card instead of saving. So it was this very psychological, and I love H.P. Lovecraft a lot, and there was a lot of H.P. Lovecraft influence in that game with, just various different things. And I really wish more people played that game. That was such a good gem.
Crystal Witten here, who's actually logged into our Flash chat, has said that the one game that stressed him or her out, I don't know if you're, sound like a girl? Could be a guy.
She's a girl.
Oh, she's a girl. She goes, Pac-Man has always stressed me out. Ghost trying to catch you as you run around the hallways. Yeah, but I have to agree on that one. As a kid, it probably would make you crap your pants trying to get away from those ghosts. And nowadays, it's considered far tame. So is Crystal a friend of yours, Chris?
Yeah, good friend.
Ah, okay. So let's segue on to you then, Chris. What was that horror game that redefined the genre for you?
That redefined the genre. Honestly, this might sound a little weird, but Catherine. Has anybody played that?
I have, yeah.
That game gets pretty. First of all, it's very difficult and very frustrating. Second of all, it gets pretty dark, especially like some of the dream sequences, like with that baby like that's coming at you, and like the whole succubus thing. Like that game was really, really weird and just really puzzling. Not only was it scary at times, but it also was incredibly difficult, and it made me cry a bunch. So I'm gonna give it that one.
I don't know if I'd consider that a horror game, though. I mean, it has a very tongue-in-cheek vibe to it. Like, it's horror in the sense of, like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer being categorized as horror.
I don't know, man. Some of those dream sequences are freaky. Like, really freaky.
It's freaky, but I would consider it... I don't think they're trying to scare you. It's more just to kind of freak you out. It's like, it's postmodern, basically. Like, I guess, horror is in the eye of the beholder, but I've seen footage from Catherine, and I don't know, especially given the actual, like, subtext of the game, I don't know if I'd classify it as a horror game, more of like a postmodern type game. Like, art.
I don't know, I think if you play it, you might change your mind.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on to you, Zach. What game redefined it for you?
Well, I'm going to get that in 1 second. I actually want to talk about Manhunt. Someone had brought up. I loved Manhunt. That game grabbed me by the balls, and I was so addicted to it. It was such a great, great game. It was brutal. I still to this day cannot believe that game was even released. So there's parts of the games where you can take a brick and you can throw it so that. It's almost like Metal Gear Solid type idea where someone will go over there and then you can sneak up on them and kill them. But to go even farther, there was a time you could take piano wire, you could go up behind someone, you could cut his head off, then you could pick up the head and hang it on your belt, and you could use that instead of the brick to get people's attention. You could throw the head in random areas. And it was brutal. And when you say going around killing people, okay, so you start off, you're a prisoner and you're going to be put to death. Well, somebody pays whoever off, and now you don't die, but you have to go past all these gangs, and he's pretty much making a snuff film out of this. There's cameras everywhere, so you're not killing innocent people. You're killing scumbag gang members throughout this whole game until you get to the very end, and it takes a turn. Anyway, so Manhunt does rule. But the game the game that did change everything for me is Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame is such a different look on a video game. First of all, okay, the idea of Fatal Frame is you walking around. The first one is you're walking around like a haunted house, and if a ghost comes up, it's gonna kill you or whatever. You can take out your camera and you can take a picture of it. Now, the more pictures you take, the more it loses health or whatever, and it eventually dies. But the Fatal Frame is actually the most perfect picture to take that'll kill it instantly and suck it into the photo or whatever. Now the first one I thought was scary, and I love that it said this is based on a true story. I thought that was such a cool detail to put on the box or wherever it said that, even though it wasn't. The second one, that's literally shit your pants scary. I was playing that in a room with 5 guys, and I was scared to hell with that, with all the lights out. It's just so creepy. And then the third one, I have to say, was my least favorite, and this is why. It gets scary, but after you get complete a level, you wake up out of a dream, and that kind of makes it lose all the atmosphere it had just built for you. You're walking around a house, and then you can get back into the next level, but it takes you out of that experience, and that's the one I didn't like about the third one.
That's such a Japanese concept, too, fighting ghosts with a camera. That's not something I could see an American game developer coming up with. It's either some type of, gun or, some type of ripoff of Ghostbusters, but a camera. And to make that scary, I think is just... That's the one thing I love about Japanese horror as opposed to American horror is they can take the most mundane concepts or the most mundane actions and build them in a way that just terrifies you. I mean,
like a VHS tape?
Yeah. They can make a VHS tape scary. They can make water scary if you've ever seen Dark Water. Or, I mean, it's just, I give you credit, man, putting a Fatal Frame into that series. I really do. I haven't played any of the games, but I would like to.
And a rebuttal to your Catherine remark, Miguel, Crystal Witten said, Catherine is really creepy and weird. I would class that as horror.
Okay, all right. I like I said, I've only based on the story bits I've seen. So to me, the story had very tongue-in-cheek quality. So
it definitely does. But the puzzle aspects and the actual gameplay of the game is ridiculously scary sometimes.
Okay.
And it frustrates the crap out of me.
Let's talk about the horror games that basically didn't do it for you. Those ones that were actually classed as horror genre type games, but didn't really make you scared at all. Made you actually feel like you were being licked by kittens. So we'll start with you first, Xander.
What's up, Internet Wrestling community? This is Anthony Mango of SmarkOutMoment.com, a wrestling website dedicated to the smart marks like you and I. We break down and review every pay-per-view with predictions and spoilers, and you can catch our weekly podcast on YouTube for some smack talk. There's no rules here, and we show no mercy. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment, where we analyze all the angles, shoot first, and kill kayfabe. That's www.smarkoutmoment.com. Why mark out when you can smark out?
Let me think. Well, see, my filter with horror movies and stuff like that, I have a pretty high tolerance just because I've watched a lot of movies and played a lot of games. I would have to say one game that I played that I think it freaked a lot of people out but didn't really scare me too much was be like Dead Space. Dead Space, I mean, it had its moments, like, you know, a little bit of jump scares, but it didn't freak me out as much as, like, some people would say it would, you know?
Oh, very much so. The game itself had a lot of jump scares in it, but I can understand exactly why it just seemed a bit timid, because people kind of overblow something in terms of proportion, and then when you finally get to that point, you're like, okay, let's see what it does for me. No, it hasn't done anything. Why do people get scared of this? You know, I understand totally. Next one, Zach.
This is a really good question, actually. I guess what I've played recently, not that it didn't freak me out, but I guess that it kind of freaked me out less than all the other games, was probably Alan Wake. I don't think I was ever like really 100% scared in that game. It was kind of a different like take on kind of like the horror games I normally play. Like, these things like are like shadows that you have to kill by using a flashlight, and the game was pretty linear also, which I think kind of maybe took away from the atmosphere of it. But I don't think I was really that scared, or like, you know, because I would turn out the lights as I always do. But yeah, I don't think it really freaked me out. So Alan Wake, I guess, is what I'd say.
Good game,
Chris.
though.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love the game. It's amazing.
I think the further detract from that as well was American Nightmare. It kind of took you out of it in a sense. Because
was that the sequel?
It was kind of a arcade downloadable content type thing that was it was the precursor to number 2, which should be coming out at some point, but not as of yet.
Okay.
But it was just like, yeah, it kind of took you away from it. But I understand totally. Chris, what about you?
Honestly, the one that didn't do it for me that I played was Carrier for the Dreamcast. Anybody played that?
Yes. This was one of the first Dreamcast games I got.
Yeah, that game was just horrible. Like, I mean, it felt like just a Resident Evil ripoff, and it didn't really do a good job of immersing me into the story at all. I didn't care for the main character, and I just didn't care for any of it. That would be that one.
And lastly, Miguel.
In terms of a game that I've played, because I had one game that I was going to mention, but I haven't actually played it, but I've seen enough of it. But if I would have to base it on one that I've actually played, I'd probably have to go with Silent Hill Origins for the PSP. I'm a massive fan of the Silent Hill series, so when they announced that they were bringing the Silent Hill games to the PSP, I was excited. I was like, yes, I was completely for it. This was right after Silent Hill The Room, but before Silent Hill Homecoming. So in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, The Room had its moments. You know, the American developers didn't botch it too bad. Maybe they can bring it back with Origins. And I was bored by that game. That game was just did nothing for me. I hated the combat in it with the destructible weapons. It felt to me like a retread of a lot of the tropes of the original Silent Hill series, and it really did nothing for me in terms of a game I've played. In terms of an honorable mention, though, because I don't know if anybody else is going to mention this, The Thing video game.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
Everybody I know, but every article I've read mentions how scary this game is. And unfortunately, all I can think of is all of the junk boxes you have to pick. You've seen Sony review of The Thing. Like, I was ready to play this game, and then I saw that, and I'm like, why do people think this is scary? There's nothing scary about it.
I think the movie, the precursor to that game, actually was more scary than the game itself.
Oh, the prequel?
Yeah.
You mean the remake movie that came out, like, when the game came out?
No, the official movie. The remake was terrible. Wasn't that.
Oh, okay.
But
So you're talking about the original version of The Thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I mean, that was a good movie.
I was going to say, though, doesn't it always kind of make you feel weird, though, when they do make a game that's supposed to be so scary and you talk to all your friends and they're like, oh, man, this game freaked me out. And when you play it and it doesn't freak you out, doesn't it kind of make you feel like, am I demented or something? Like, what's the big deal about this? You know?
I'm just sitting there thinking, am I sadomasochist? Is that why?
No, we all know that you are.
Yeah, of course. I sacrificed a bucket of chicken last week and a watermelon.
I do that every day.
That's the thing, though, is horror. Horror is such an eye of the beholder kind of thing, and there's so many different types of horror. Because I was listening to a radio show and they were talking about how one of the guys has a fear of the supernatural, like ghosts and things like that, whereas the other guy on there, he laughs at those supernatural movies, but stuff like, Wolf Creek and Last House on the Left and things like that terrify him. It's more of a sense of what in your mind is scary. Are you the type that is afraid of, the things you can't imagine, or are you afraid of the stuff that can actually happen in real life? It depends on where you fall in that spectrum.
I mean, in that case, like, I would definitely. I haven't played Fatal Frame, but the concept of it freaks me out. That would scare the shit out of me.
Oh, it is freaky.
Yeah, the second one is the most brutal.
And lastly, I want to talk about experiences you had. Like, what was the game that has a story for you, in a sense? What was the horror game that you connected with? I think that's the question I'm trying to ask here. Like, for me, for instance, I'll start this off. The one horror game that had a huge connection with me was the Resident Evil series, Resident Evil 1. I talked about this a little bit before on our previous horror game show, where I remember having all the lights off and sitting there in a room, my PlayStation 1, and I'll be playing through this game, and you'd start to hear noises in the room while you're playing this game, and you had that first little bit where you're coming up to the zombie and the head just moves and it starts making noises. And then I started just going around the house checking doors and stuff like that because it just freaked me out. And a lot of it was because of the way that I built this game up and the story that was going on in the game, Haunted Mansion. You didn't know, from where it had there to where it's progressed now, there's a huge difference. Now it's become more sort of like Rambo First Blood Part 12, where the game itself had more of that atmospheric, haunting sort of moments. So we'll start off with you, Zack. Well, what was the game that had that big story connection for you?
Well, I think it would have been one of the two that I had talked about previously. So I'm going to talk about a different one. It might not be the one that 100%. It was a really good game. Doom 3 was one of my favorite games. And one thing I want to say about this is, because I was talking to my friend, but one of the things I loved about Doom 3 was this is the original, I think it's been changed since, I think there's a mod now, but in the original version of Doom 3, you had the choice to use a flashlight or to use your weapon. You couldn't mount the flashlight onto the weapon. And I loved that. I thought that was such a cool idea. My buddy who I was talking about it said he completely hated the idea, and he loves the mod where you can just duct tape the flashlight to the weapon. But I love these little things that create atmosphere. It's kind of like, do you want to see what's coming, or would you rather just shoot if you hear something, or swap between them?
That sounds awesome.
It was great. Doom 3 was a very awesome, well-made game. There was one thing that really scared the hell out of me, were these mutant babies that would crawl around on the ground and make crying noises. And it's when you have the lights off and you're in your room and you might even be drunk by this point, you're just what the hell, it's freaking you out. You got to shoot these mutant things that are walking around. And then there's one point in this game where you're not expecting anything, and as you're walking, the floor falls out. And when that happened, I was like, what the hell? I was not expecting it. And yeah, it was a great game. You always got to create the atmosphere. And I think the idea of the flashlight versus the weapon really helped that atmosphere. It helped to make it a little freakier for me.
What about you, Chris?
I'm gonna, I know you just said this, Michael, but, the Resident Evil series, honestly, is my favorite. Like I said earlier, turning the lights off with my brother and turning the sound all the way up for the first Resident Evil. I played them all the way through. I had all the way through 6. 6, isn't as good, obviously, but 5 even moments where it freaked me out, and 4 also did too, with the fog and everything. All those games are just incredibly well done. Especially Resident Evil 2, I think is probably my favorite as far as the what the hell. Freak out moments that I had in that game. But although there's nothing that sticks out more in my mind than the dogs jumping through the window in the original Resident Evil.
That scared the living shit out. I remember the first time I saw that, I was shaking afterwards.
Yeah, for real.
I was like, what the hell? My brother and I remember just came into the room. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm just like,
yeah. And it's like I couldn't even lift my character. You know, obviously, you know, I'm just controlling the controller, but like I couldn't like lift my gun to shoot them fast enough. They're like all of a sudden on you, and like don't even know what to do. I must have died like 5 times before I figured out how to get past that.
Oh, I remember my heart was beating so badly on that as well. You're just sitting there like freaking. Do you know? Have you ever had that point where you're just frozen in a game?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, what the hell happened? And after it's like, I just had a moment. It's fine.
Yeah.
Get back to it. And just, I remember that so vividly. It was so enjoyable. So let's go for you, Zan. Yeah, go on, Chris.
I had one more. Also was American McGee's Alice. I really like that one too, just because I love Alice in Wonderland in general, and that game turned it on its head and made it really dark and really scary.
There's a known fact to that, actually. Sarah Michelle Gellar owned the rights to the American McGee's Alice because she wanted to play the title character, but could never find a company that would back it. But, you know, for me, I really would love to see a film like that get made as long as it was a twisted horror.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I never played the sequel, though. I heard that was kind of lackluster.
Yeah, I think they tried too hard on that. So, Xander, what about you?
The game that I'm going to talk about, and it kind of ties in with probably one of the scariest horror movies I've watched, because it's kind of psychological, and this Resident Evil 4. But the reason why Resident Evil 4 really freaked me out is because it kind of had that, you know, when you go into the village and there's all these people that, you know, obviously don't speak English, and it has that weird, trying to think of the word for it, like, you feel like there's just some type of barrier there, like you're not sure what these people are all about, and there's some creepiness to them. It kind of made me think of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Totally.
And to this day, like, you know, because, you know, I play in a band and we'll go and travel somewhere. There's always a fear of mine of like, you know, our car breaking down in some stick town, you know, because, you know, we live around a lot of countryside and there's some weird people out there, you know, so. So you know, like when I was playing that game, it would kind of make me feel weird when you're in that countryside and you hear everyone talking to each other and they're doing, you know, normal things, you know, like pushing wheelbarrows and, you know, tending the chickens, but there's just something not right about that. And that's really what kind of freaked me out about that game. I mean, the game had a lot of action to it, and, you know, it wasn't as scary as, like, say, like Resident Evil with zombies, but Resident Evil 4 was kind of scary to me because it felt more like this could actually happen. Like, you could actually go into some village and have something like that.
That one scene where you're riding around in that little boat and you have to defeat that huge, like, whatever the hell that monster was in the ocean. That freaked me the hell out. That, like, but I hate like, I mean, like, as far as like anything that comes out of the water, anything that I can't see coming out of the water, that scares the crap out of me. So that whole scene was like really hard for me to even finish.
Yeah,
that game was insane.
I'm the same. It's when it comes to certain games like that, it's the unexpected, and when there's like that lack of communication between yourself and other people, it scares the crap out of you because you don't know what the hell they're plotting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the downfalls. I remember when every time I'd go overseas, I would always stick to like the towns and the open streets. I would never go to the back alleys or anything like that.
No way.
You always feel like someone's going to freaking jump you and impale you on something because you hear so many horror stories. Miguel, what about you?
I won't go into this for too long because it was already mentioned, so I have 2 nominations, but Doom 3 is the game that just it's been a while since a game has legitimately scared me, and Doom 3 actually did. And one of the reasons I think it was because it was one of the first to do what I'm about to say before pretty much Activision killed that concept, but it was one of the first games that I remember playing to where the action unfolded around you. You know, especially especially in that middle act when everything starts to go pear-shaped, you know, and you start hearing the recordings over the speaker, over the intercom, and you start hearing all the little noises and the whispers going around, and it really did just bring a sense of just anything can jump out at you and anything can kill you. And in the case of Doom 3, with the way it was set up, pretty much that was the case. So it really brought a sense of fear to that type of gameplay that I hadn't felt in a while. In terms of a game that really got me, besides that one, I'm going to have to be that guy, but I'm going to have to bring up Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 is important to me because it was one of the first games I played in the horror genre to where the story meant something. Because let's be honest, the story in Resident Evil really is just a way to kind of string the gameplay together. It's not something you really pay too much attention to. But Silent Hill very much was a game that you paid the more you paid attention to, the more context you got in everything. You got what the character of Pyramid Head meant in terms of the main character. You got what the nurses meant, what basically all the motivations and characteristics of the game really tied into the story, and it was a total package game for me.
I agree with that, yeah, definitely.
No, I agree totally.
I just recently, actually, because I haven't played the game in a while, I don't even have a copy of it anymore, I recently went back and watched the endings, the 3 different endings to it, and, I mean, they're very effective, those 3 endings that you get in that game.
No, it's true, because it's, with that game, the best place to go to, by the way, guys, if you want to check out a full in-depth review and analysis of Silent Hill 2, check out Twin Perfect's review of the Silent Hill franchise. That's youtube.com/twinperfect. So check those guys out. I'll also leave a link on facebook.com, I Got Gameplay, so make sure you check that out as well. So yeah, with that game, there was so much intertwined, like personally, for the main character of the game as well, because he had this sexual frustration, the fact that he was missing his wife, and the narrative of the story. You kind of play the game itself to unlock the story, whereas Resident Evil was more, as you said, the story was stringed together through the gameplay. It was more sort of cut sequences leading to the other parts of the game that you were unlocking. And with Silent Hill 2, it was deeper than just being a game that wanted to scare you. There was all this subtext and hidden meaning to it as well. So going on that, let's talk about our final parts for this segment, and that's basically, I want to know your top 5 favorite horror games. So we'll start with you, Miguel.
Top 5 horror games. Oh, that's going to be a tough one. Let me give that a good thought. In no particular order, because I don't know if I could do top 5 at this point, but I guess the 5 games that stand out to me in terms of the horror genre, Doom 3, obviously, I mentioned why. Dino Crisis, obviously, I mentioned why. Silent Hill 2, I've already mentioned why. I'd probably put Code Veronica just because that was the first Resident Evil game I played, and that was the second game I played after Dino Crisis.
Every time I hear you say Code Veronica, I think it's like Chris just goes,
I fucking hate that game.
Why? I always get flack for saying that's one of my favorite Resident Evil games.
Okay, first of all, I'll tell you why I hate that game. Okay, because I was so stoked for that game when it came out for the Dreamcast. I got it. I ran home. I was like, oh, excited. I spent my own money on it, And I got home and I played through the entire first disc where you play as Claire or whatever. And then the second disc, you play as Chris and you have to do the same thing over again. And what was the Ashford twins or whatever? What was his name? I can't remember because he was such a horrible character. Arthur Ashford or whatever with his stupid laugh. And then all this, that game was so annoying. And especially I hated the fact that you just had to backtrack the entire thing that you just did with Claire with Chris. That was retarded.
Technically, there were some parts of that game that second part that were different.
Oh, whatever. No. I'm sorry. You can like it. That's fine, I guess. But that game is horrible. And especially Code Veronica X, too. I thought they were going to make it better. And I tried playing it. And they didn't make it better. They made it worse.
Okay, so Miguel, and continuing.
All right. So Dino Crisis, obviously, because it was one of the first. Resident Evil Code Veronica, because screw you. Doom 3, obviously, because I explained why. Silent Hill 2, obviously, I don't really think I need to explain why. And then a fifth one. Let me think about that. Off the top of my head. See, that's hard because, I don't know, it's just a lot of horror games that I've played. Like, I'm thinking of games like Dead Rising, which wasn't that scary to me.
That was more parody. But Dead Rising 3, I assure you, is a lot scarier.
Huh. Okay. There's one that I kind of like, and it's not a great game, but it's one that I think deserves mentioning. There was a game on the PS2 called Cold Fear. It was very It was very much made in the same vein as Resident Evil 4. I liked it. I didn't think it was a great game, but I thought it was pretty good. Basically, you're playing as a Coast Guard who finds this abandoned ship, and it turns out it's overrun by these alien parasite monsters. It's a lot better than I make it sound, but if you can find a copy of it,
that's good.
Sounds horrible.
It's very much worth playing. Yeah, it's well made. It's very well made, and it looks really good for PS2 and Xbox standards.
And it will make you motion sick with that freaking when you're on the ship and it's just rocking back and forth.
Do you want to know something interesting, actually, that I remembered? I had done an episode about a month or two back where I talked about canceled games, and I found out that Cold Fear was actually meant as a spin-off sequel for the Time Crisis games.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was supposed to be set in the Time Crisis universe, but Namco pulled the plug on it, and then Ubisoft picked it up.
Oh. Did not know that.
So let's move on to Miguel to Xander.
Well, I'll say first of all, like the Castlevania series is my favorite, but I want to stick to more of like the actual like horror genre. Resident Evil 2, Silent Hill 2, Space, Eternal Darkness, and the one that I want to mention that's not really like scary, but I had such a love-hate for it, and that's Blue Stinger on the Dreamcast.
Oh God. I kind of like that game. I'm not gonna lie.
I have to review.
It's so bad.
No, it was definitely entertaining. It was like one of those movies like what's a movie like that? Like movie 43 or whatever, where it's like really horrible, but it's slightly entertaining. It's like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I can't. You know what?
I'll give you Blue Stinger. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, you know, I defend Code Veronica, but my God, I don't think I could ever defend Blue Stinger. It's got some of the worst controls I've ever used, and the dialogue. My God, that dialogue.
Oh, I love the dialogue, but you gotta think like when it came out. It was so breathtaking at that time because it was the first actual like 3D like survival horror game. Like it wasn't none of the pre-rendered backgrounds or anything like that. It was fully 3D and it looks very dated for like today's standards, of course. And yeah, the controls are horrible. But you can get anything you want out of a vending machine, and it had the best Christmas theme ever.
That's a very Japanese game. I think that's also an annoyance I have is that it is unabashedly Japanese.
Even the cover. I'm looking at the cover, and I'm like, oh my God, I can so like remember just loving this.
I'll admit it was the first Dreamcast game I ever played, and I played the heck out of it. But then again, the only other option I had was Carrier.
And that game was horrible.
Yeah, I'll defend Carrier over Blue Stinger because Carrier's biggest problem was that it was just generic. That's it. Like I didn't get angry playing the game.
I do have an honorable mention.
That's true.
I do have an honorable mention. That's Illbleed. I liked Illbleed as well.
I never played
the concept of Illbleed. Is that the one where you're in like a fun house, have a horror meter at the top, like a scare meter?
Yeah, that was cool.
That's an interesting concept. I'll give you that one.
And it's your last few minutes to call, ladies and gentlemen, 760-512-7247. So make sure that you call into the show. We have 6 minutes of live on-air time remaining. If you want to check out the rest of this episode, you can do on our archived podcast. So let's move on from Xander to you, Zach.
Okay, yeah, actually, on my top 5, one game we didn't actually mention at all is Splatterhouse. I had it back in the day for the TurboGrafx, and I really liked it. I don't know what happened to it now. I don't have it anymore, but they remade Splatterhouse also like 1 or 2 years ago. It was just kind of like a God of War type ripoff. But I actually really enjoyed. What's up?
That's the one I played, was the 2010. I mean, I played the second one on the Genesis, but not the original one. And then I played the Xbox 360 one.
So, like the new Splatterhouse game, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's not terribly bad. It's not terribly good. But one of the cool things is once you beat the game, you unlock the original 3 Splatterhouse 1, 2, and 3, like the old retro games that were on the disc, so you could play them. Yeah, no, it was really good. It was really, really good. So there's one game I want to bring up that I really liked that nobody mentioned. It was called Call of Cthulhu for Xbox, Dark Corners of the Earth. That game was awesome. It was kind of like a horror, like noir. You were like a detective, and it also you just like go through these stages, like trying to figure out this. I think maybe the disappearance of people. I'm not exactly sure. I played it so long ago. It was for the original Xbox. But one cool thing, the music was awesome. But one cool thing was it also employed the insanity meter, like Eternal Darkness. So if that meter got too high, you would kill yourself because you couldn't, like the in-game character would, because you couldn't like cope with what you're seeing and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. Fatal Frame 2.
It also had the Metallica song in it. No, it didn't.
And then Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly is just awesome. It's so good. Go get a copy. It's on PS2 and it's on Xbox, or download it probably somewhere. That is a must-play game. My favorite of all horror games, the one I had the biggest connection with and I was completely obsessed with, is Manhunt. That's my number one favorite. I just thought it was so brutal. It was just so awesome. Like I loved it, especially like because in the beginning, you start with like a plastic bag and you can like suffocate someone with it, and eventually you move into like baseball bats and like you can creep up behind people, and like the longer you are like stay behind them without them seeing you is how like more brutal the kill got. So like if you used a baseball bat, if you only was behind them for like 1 second, you would just like hit them in the stomach and in the face and they would die or whatever. But then like if you stay behind them for like 5 seconds, you would like smash their head until like the brains like smashed against the wall and stuff, and I thought it was really cool. And then you get a chainsaw like later on. It just got awesome. And one game, this isn't scary, but this is actually the most recent game that I had so much fun playing, is Typing of the Dead. It was like House of the Dead, but you typed out words instead of shooting the monsters. Like a monster would come out, there'd be a word, you type it, he gets killed. They're wearing Dreamcasts on their back. They're holding keyboards and stuff, and it was just really fun to play. I loved it. It was really, it's the exact same game as How the Dead do it, except that of shooting things, typed out words. And when you got to bosses, you would have to like type out like long sentences and stuff. It was really awesome. I had a great time with it. And then the honorable mention is Alan Wake. The game is awesome. It's one of the best. If you haven't played it, definitely pick it up.
Well, speaking of Typing of the Dead, they've actually done a sequel to it, which is they've taken the mechanics of House of the Dead Overkill for the Wii U and the PS3, and they've turned it into Typing of the Dead 2, which is Typing of the Dead Overkill on the PC. Sega quietly released it, hasn't told much about it, so guys, cop that game. I love Overkill. It's one of my favourite House of the Dead games ever. I have my Wii U copy. I could go on and on and on about how amazing that game is, so make sure that you cop that.
I should definitely check that out.
Chris Locs?
All right, so number one is probably going to be the Resident Evil Director's Cut, most definitely. Just because I was such a young kid when I played it, and it freaked me the hell out. And then I'm probably going to have to go with American McGee's Alice, which I mentioned before. And then Catherine. And other than that, probably like Resident Evil 3 and Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill.
For me, I'll have to go with the Resident Evil 1, which, this is in no certain order, by the way, ladies and gents. Resident Evil 1, because that made me shit myself more than once as a kid. Not literally, well, nearly literally. Some poop did come out.
A little turtle.
Sharded.
Silent Hill 2 as well. The story in it was extremely creepy. This was the time when Pyramid Head was actually a dominant, nasty character that would literally destroy at will. So that's number 2. Number 3, I would have to give Dead Space 1. It kind of, it brought back the genres of jump scares very well. The Necromorphs, that scared the crap out of me when someone would die, and then these things would literally contort their body and twist and turn them into these nasty little things. That was the first time I ever, in my adult life, literally looked at a game and wanted to turn the bloody thing off.
Can I just say something about Dead Space?
Yeah.
I've played it, and I don't find it too scary, but I will say this, if I had to describe Dead Space, to me it's like if instead of Ridley Scott made Aliens, John Carpenter made Aliens.
Yeah.
Like, it's got a very, I bring that up because I read an article a couple months back where John Carpenter has actually said he wants to make a Dead Space movie. And I think he'd probably be, if we're talking about good John Carpenter, not years Ghost Mars John Carpenter, if old school 80s John Carpenter could come back and make that, yeah, I would love to see John Carpenter make a Dead Space movie.
Yeah,
I think he'd be perfect.
For me, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's one of those where it would probably scare the living crap out of you, just actually by seeing it. It's great. It's one of those games for me that it had a lot of jump scares, but after the first game, it kind of wears down. The second game, it was like, oh, okay, this again. The third game, it kind of turned into an action game. It didn't really scare me as much anymore. So there's that genre of games. And I'm trying to think what else, actually, so I'm on number 4, I believe. Number 4, for me, I have to give it to House of the Dead Overkill. I love the game. I can't speak highly of this game enough. It's not scary. It's a zombie game, but it's a parody of itself. It parodies the House of the Dead games. The fact that they're so cheesy, and it brings it into that whole B-movie genre of films and makes that B-movie game. And I loved it. I remember playing this on my Wii, and I've now literally to protect the game itself, I've modded my Wii so it's on the hard drive, and I just play through it whenever I can. But I was playing it, and I would go through all these wacky little experiences, like the guy who was in love with his mum, so he took the hooker's body to infuse with his mother, and all this nastiness when she turns into this big monstrous thing, and he wants to go back in her womb, so he ends up going for a vajayjay. It's like stuff like that. You'd sit there and you think, what the fuck did I just see? And it would creep you out, but it was so awesome at the same time. So anyone who hasn't played that, type in Dead Overkills on the PC. You can get it for the Wii, and you can also get it for the PS3 as well. Your best bet is to use the PS3 moves and use the Wii motion controls, because that you get the full effect of the game. It's so awesome. And number 1 would be the rail shooters of the Resident Evil franchise. I love them. They're some of my favourite types of games. I have so much fun with shooters as opposed to actually... I kind of mix it, really. They're games that would scare me, but as an adult, if I'm playing a horror game now, there has to be a shooter element to it. But I love them all. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what your favourites are, your top 5. You can leave a comment on facebook.com/IGotGameplay, or you could tweet us at IGotGameplay on our Twitter feed, and we can basically have a look at that for us as well. We usually send tweets out for Fanboys Anonymous and stuff like that, or if there's anything interesting on our Facebook page, we tweet it straight to you. So on that note, fellas, let's move on to plugs. So, Miguel, let's start with you.
I'm going to plug... usually I start with my blog, but I haven't really put much up to it, so I'm going to actually do you a favor, Burhan. Check out This Job for Hire, which is Burhan's TV series that he's got... Well, not TV series, it's more of a YouTube series that he's working on. I'm plugging that because I've written a couple episodes, and hopefully those will be put up on soon enough. They're a little bit too heady, so we'll have to give Burhan some time to get the production down, but check out the ones he's got up so far. I didn't write them, but just go ahead and check those out.
I can vouch for that. I can vouch for that show. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a fun show to do. both as an actor, as a director on that show, and also as a writer myself. There are fun elements to them as well. We are redoing the show because we're trying to repackage it into a TV series that we're hopefully going to get onto Blip TV, and may partner up with a few other networks as well, guys, so watch your space on that. Check out the ones that we have done, because it's been a learning experience. It's very fun, and it's been so good that Chris Jericho decided to copy it badly.
Yeah.
Check that out. And if you're Chris Jericho or Action TV, just know, guys, I want to hear from you by the end of the week, or I'm going to actually start going to YouTube and filing my copyright claims, because it's a property owned by Enigma Entertainment, and it's owned by myself. I'm glad I copyrighted stuff, because you never know who's watching your stuff and wants to take credit for it. Anyway, Xander?
Well, a little bit of plugs. Of course, I have my own podcast, Excess Gaming Podcast. You can check it out on Podomatic.com, or you can subscribe to it on iTunes. I also have a YouTube channel, Xander Skullion on YouTube. I actually put a video a couple of days ago called Getting Back Into a Series, which was a pretty interesting video. And also I'm a part of Game On Network, and you can visit that on gameonnetwork.wordpress.com. And I also have a Twitter. You can just, tweet Excess Gaming Podcast on Twitter and see what's the diddly-o. So, there you go.
And Zach?
All right, yeah. You can find us, me and Kyla, at our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and you search Getting Your Nerd On, you'll find us there. We've been doing recently pickup videos of just games we pick up. We do have a new series where we bring on guests to do a segment called Beating Games I Couldn't Beat, about people talking about a game they couldn't have beaten when they were a kid for whatever reason, and they go back now and beat it, and so we make it into a segment. So most of those, all of them so far, are guest stars. And you guys can check out my band, metal punk band. Band's called Killtac 9. You can find us if you go to KILLTAC, the number 9.bandcamp.com. Our newest record, The Promised Flavor, is up there. And next week, Kyla and I will be revealing to you guys a new channel that we're doing about Star Wars, and I'm just making sure I'm getting everything put together and to make it like really professional. And we'll let everyone know about it next week.
I'll wait on you on that, by the way. As soon as if you need any guests, I want in on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I can't highly recommend their channel more enough. Zach and Kyla, the greatest thing about their channel, and I think which has done so well in terms of the Happy Console Gamer, in terms of Travis's channel, Rose Colored Reviews, is that they have a personal experience and investment in these games. The thing that I find a lot of pickup channels and Let's Plays and stuff do wrong is there's no investment there. People just like, this is what I've done, this is what I have, yay, I'm going to probably end up selling this on or trading it in the next couple of weeks anyway. They don't do that. And I love your personal rants as well, Zach. When you break out into your old personal rants about the Duke care with the consoles and stuff like that, it really works. So make sure you check that out, guys. And Chris?
Yeah, so you can find me, hopefully I'll be writing some more stuff for Fanboys Anonymous soon. I'm just, a little busy with the music thing. But you can find me on YouTube. Just search that on YouTube. You can find a whole bunch of random videos that I do, including some videos of my bands. You can find some of my music on Spotify. Just search Outlaws and Creatures or Plastic Villains, or my most recent and current band, Vinyl Spectrum. I'm also in the process of working on a tribute album version of The Elephant by the White Stripes, because I don't know if anybody's aware, but it's the 10-year anniversary of that album this year. So we're doing a huge collaboration with a bunch of musicians from the East and the West Coast, and we're putting out the entire album front to back with everybody doing different cover versions. So that should be out by the end of the year. And other than that, just, stay frosty.
And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I Got Gameplay is a part of two vast networks. Big shout out to Tony Mango, fanboysanonymous.com. Him with myself and a few others, including Chris Dace, the Dace Man Show here, and Mike Payton, who is the owner of Mega House Radio, are the founders of fanboysanonymous.com. Fanboys Anonymous is for everything geek. Check it out, guys. It's got some great reviews on there. If you love TV, you love film, you love podcasting, of course, of what we do, you love gaming, you love anything, we always try to make sure that we're up to date, and there's some great writers on there as well. And also, you can check out the Mega Powers Network, of course, which is founded by Mr. Mike Payden, who's on here regularly, with Keeping Kayfabe every Thursday night at 9 o'clock. I believe it's 9 o'clock or 9:30. I believe it's 9 o'clock. And you can check out the Royal Post Show 11 p.m. every Monday. Tuesday nights we have the Daceman Show every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Dace, myself, Nikki Mills, and also a slew of other hosts, including Frank Ward and Gibby, are on there. We have so much fun. It basically talks about pop culture, politics, whatever we want to talk about, and we have a blast doing so. You can also check us out on Wednesday nights for Travis Goss and Gary Kelman's show. That's called Geek Speak Live. It was formerly Geek Speak. It's a great show. They talk about everything in terms of nerdy comic books, cartoons, films, television, games, a little bit as well. They touch on it. Not as much as I got gameplay, but they do touch on gaming and stuff like that as well on there, so check that out. Anything that they've got in their mind. They also even have an actor and director of the week that they talk about. It's a great, great show. I think this week they talked about Disney. And also you can check out every Thursday night, as I said, Keeping Kayfabe. Friday nights we kind of have free. I think we're going to be having a show there very soon. But you can also check me out on Smart Out Moment Smack Talk, which is hosted by Tony Mango. I'm doing an article for Smart Out Moment post haste. I think I'm going to actually be starting that Sunday with all my other work, because this weekend I've been looking after my very sweet and loving children, which has been great, apart from the fact where they're breaking my stuff. My son recently broke my Game Boy Advance.
Oh no.
I'm looking for parts.
Oh, that sucks.
I'm looking for parts for it as we speak, and I kind of cried a little bit inside. And also, you can check out on Sunday nights, we either have usually Otaku Nation once a month, where we talk about all things anime. It's your one-stop shop for anime, with myself and Stephen Wago. And you can also check out, when there's a pay-per-view going on, our pay-per-view pre-show. And that's usually every Sunday at 7 p.m. before the pay-per-view bell dongs. So check that out, guys. There's a huge dong. There's a huge slew of stuff. There's some great stuff as well. We recently had Paul Hibbard. A shout out to Paul. He's a great friend of mine. He comes up with some insane stuff. He's hilarious on the Raw Post Show, where he talks about Big Show suddenly having a gun for some reason. And this week he touched on the fact that the man who was known as Chuck Lesnar himself, the bodyguard, well, the former bodyguard for Dolph Ziggler, basically has a big dong. I don't know why Paul looked there, but apparently that's what he talked about. So yeah, there's loads of stuff that we talk about. There's some great comedy, great stylings on there. Check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheNerdGenius, youtube.com/IGotGameplay, where I am updating it currently. I'm having a few issues on my laptop. They should be resolved fairly soon, so that I can actually concentrate on uploading those channels. And check out my new company, Enigma Entertainment. It's a film and television production facility. We also do a web series, there's beer logs and stuff like that. We're going to be starting a Kickstarter soon to help the company get a bit more funding, so we can do loads of stuff that we want to do, including charity events, and also help actors out by producing free show reels, vid reels, and intro reels and stuff like that for them as part of our company's identity, because I really want to give back to the industry that gave so much to me as well. I'm an actor as well. You can check me out on various film and television shows as well. Currently starring in This Job for Hire, which is on youtube.com/nerdgenius. It will be porting itself over to Blip TV as well, with the new camera, because we'll be shooting it in 2.5K with a new studio facility. There's loads of stuff I've got going on, guys. Make sure to check out www.nerdgenius.com for more, www.fanboysanonymous.com, and for Xander, for Zach, for Chris, for Miguel, also for everybody in the chat room, for all of you that have listened in to I Got Gameplay, because we love you. Remember that we've got gameplay. Have you?